Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Retail Shenanigans. I'm pretty sure this is going to be episode 22. I'm pretty positive. I'm pretty excited. Oh, I thought I muted that. There we go. Turn off notifications. Sorry about that, guys. I'm pretty excited. Today is going to be another great episode. Not only is this going to be my second video interview, but I'm also interviewing a former coworker of mine from FYE, someone who I really only worked with for a little bit, but him and I really, I feel connected, and him and I have stayed in touch even though both of us are no longer working in FYE. So everybody who is a fan of the show. It's definitely going to be an interesting episode. My buddy Tim here, a longtime advocate of the devil's lettuce or marijuana, however you would want to put it. So, everybody who's been here and who's been supporting the channel, I thank you, and please continue to, like and subscribe to the videos. So, hey, we're going to get rolling. Tim, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm good. I had work today. Had a nice. It was Friday, so it was pretty busy. We're just transitioning slowly into the summer periods, so we're a lot busier.
Are y'all dealing with COVID?
So we are, but it's slowly like kind of because Texas is slowly opening up. So I don't want to say we're like lessening because we still have all the procedures and everything, but I just feel like every so often it's starting to die down a little bit. Like we were closed from 12 to 5 at night, and starting Sunday we're going to be open 24 hours again, and then we're going to start beginning our deliveries. You good? You got your shit together?
It's fucking trying, man.
You're not stoned out of your mind yet, are you?
Not yet. We'll get there.
I'm sure. But yeah, we're slowly, getting to the point where where everything is slowly back to normal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of what my store's doing too, but like working in a smoke shop, man, like there's way too hard to do any kind of options or anything like that, so we're kind of just saying, yeah, y'all come in, do what you need to do. Try not to spend a lot of time in there, but...
Right. Well, we have, it's funny because... 7-Eleven, the big corporation that it is, we're not allowed to have more than 10 people in the store at a time, which I'm not sure if that's been lifted yet or not, but I know we've got markers on the floor, like social distancing, like 6 feet apart, things like that, and we've actually measured out through the stores, like when people are in line. And then, while we're working, we're in masks and gloves and whatnot. I mean, and it's even at the point where we're not allowing people to have refillable cups. Like, they are only allowed to get, like, a to-go cup, and then if they want something else, they got to get a new cup.
Yeah. So, so my understanding of, like, the whole, mask and everything...
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessarily a city ordinance, it's an order.
Right.
So, like, people don't have to do it if they don't want to. But it's up to the companies whether or not they enforce it or not. So my company example, we're not forcing it.
Gotcha.
So if you walk in without a mask, I don't give a fuck.
Right. Which, yeah, we can't tell our customers they have to either, as far as I know. And I know and with us working behind the counter, they put like this plexiglass shit out in front of us. And let me tell you, with us working with those stoves and those like Turbo Chef ovens behind there all day, it gets fucking hot, man. And then you're behind that mask. I literally had a guy the other day. I literally was like sweating so much you could see like dots, like sweat marks and whatnot on my mask. So yeah. There was a guy in the store when I took it off. He saw that and he's like, "Oh, well, you're sneezing. I'm getting me and my family out of here." And he grabbed his wife and they left. And I'm like, "Are you fucking serious, dude?"
Big over fucking reaction.
100%. 100%. So I definitely think that's a great way to now that we've got. We got a little back and forth in. I think that's a great way to start. And really the first question I have for you is, how long have you worked in retail?
Oh, shit. Man. All right, so McDonald's was like my first job. That was at like 16.
It's a great first job.
The fucked up thing is, too, like, it was right around the corner from my house. So, like, I didn't need, like, a car or anything, so it took a little bit for me to get my my car. But I'd say roughly 12, maybe 13 years.
Okay. 12, 13, 12's about, well, no, 20 oh. Sorry, I'm trying to do the math here quick. 16, I'm 28. Yeah, so like 12 years. 12 years for me as well. And like I said, I've mostly done either convenience store retail or like big box or like specialty.
Yeah, before FYE, you were at Dollar General, right?
Well, yeah. So I was at Dollar General in Pennsylvania, and then I came down here, and I actually worked for the Salvation Army for their thrift store.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was there for a little bit until I was like, well, I'm not really making the money I want to make, so I'm going to branch out.
So you went to FYE.
Not my best decision. Before we go any further, buddy, I got to ask, what's that flag behind you? Is that supposed to be a joint?
Nah, bro. Know your Texas history.
Oh, okay. It's a cannon, right?
Yeah, it's the cannon that they flew over the Alamo after they stole Santa Ana's cannon.
Gotcha. Yeah,
That's the flag.
You know, I'm not from Texas, so I don't know. Like, I know, like, you know, certain things, but no, I'm not native Texan, buddy. I'm one of them Yankees.
The fuck out of here. Got it out.
Oh, damn it. Okay, so with your 12 years, I imagine, with you starting at McDonald's, I imagine there's a lot of, and I don't want to say jump around, but I'm assuming that you've had a couple different jobs along the way.
Yeah, the bulk of where I was at Lids.
Lids,
and
okay.
Before that was probably Spencer's. I spent like maybe 4 years at Spencer's. I spent about 5 years at Lids.
And Lids is a hat company, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I couldn't.
I mean, it's a sports apparel company. So,
right.
like, Lids is mainly known for their hats, hence the name.
Right.
But, I mean, they sell jerseys and, like, cups, memorabilia, like, everything you can fucking think of.
Wow. I mean, I've been into a Lids a couple times, but I don't think I've ever seen a jersey.
They have them in the Lids locker room. So Lids is different from the locker rooms. The locker rooms is what has like all the apparel, but if you just go into a Lids store, then it's just straight up hats.
That makes sense. That makes 100% sense. Because like I said, all the ones I've been into is just where you walk in and it's just hats on hats on hats.
Yeah. For days.
For days. So you really answered two of my questions there. So you said for 12 years and your first job was at McDonald's. Now, with that being your first job, first off, how long were you there? Was it like you were there for a little bit or just until you got your feet in the sand or what?
I don't know. I'd probably say I was there for maybe about a year.
Okay. And I assume when you started there, they started you probably just like cashier and then or like takeout window or whatever, and they just kind of bumped you around. I'm not entirely sure. Like I've had
I don't know the way they like actually do things. But when I got hired, I was hired as a cashier, so like they put me on that, and then they put me on the fry machine, and then they put me on the deep fry, which is like where you make patties and everything. And then from there, like I was just stuck on the deep fry because apparently I go ham.
So you're like SpongeBob flipping patties.
Yeah, just going hard at it.
Fucking fantastic. You know, I do have to say, Tim, I hate to interrupt you a little bit, but now that I actively know that you do smoke pot, I have to tell you, when you worked for me, I definitely got that vibe from you. Like there were times when you would come in, not to work,
to, like smoke when I come into work or
no.
before work, but like after work, fucking game on.
Oh yeah, there were times I saw you when you would come in when you weren't on the clock, and I would be like, he's clearly high.
Funny story, every single time.
Fucking fantastic. Well, working for Randall, you'd almost have to be.
Oh, bro. Randall's a cool guy and everything, like dope ass guy, but yeah.
He's rough.
Weed helps.
It helps. So after McDonald's, so you said you were about a year, and then you took a shining to the being a patty flipper.
You want to put it like that? All right.
Right. You must have been pretty good at handling some meat or something.
See what you did there.
Ba-dum, rim shot. Anyway, so from there, where did you go from there? Was that straight to like Spencer's and Lids, or was it kind of
No,
like?
I had an interim. So I went from McDonald's and I took like probably a 2 month hiatus because I was still living at home.
Okay.
This was like back in high school and shit.
Right.
So I took like a 2 month hiatus from work, just kind of chilled at home, and I was also in like sports and everything,
Right.
band and whatnot too. So like when I played, it's kind of cool. But after that 2 month mark, I think I ended up going to fucking steakhouse Outback.
Okay.
I was a busboy there for maybe 3 months, and then a coworker who worked with me, who was actually also a really good friend. We both went to school. She actually got me an interview up there.
Okay.
She passed away, and then after that, I was just like, you know what? I don't want to work here no more.
Right.
And then after that, it was probably like a 3 month hiatus there, and then I started working for Spencer's.
Okay. And Spencer's is another one of those shops where I don't want to compare it to like FYE or Hot Topic, but I mean it's essentially along those lines.
Yes, with more giant wieners.
Yeah, that always kind of threw me off because Spencer's always had some cool shirts and you can always get some like mugs or like shot glasses, but it was always weird. Like I never went in with my parents or some shit like that, but like it was always weird like when you would go in there and then you'd see of course all the teeny boppers. Oh, pupper.
Sorry, somebody just knocked on the door.
That's okay. But when you go in there and you see the teeny boppers like, oh, it's a dildo.
Yeah, I mean, like it was definitely a big like, probably more. It was more of a mall rat store.
Right.
What I would call that. So there was definitely people up there that were like, oh my god, dude, juggalos. Oh my god. All the time. I think I told you this before, but when I was working for Spencer's, we had one regular girl that came in, and she was a straight up mall rat.
Jesus.
But every now and then she would wear like one of the spaghetti strap shirts.
Right.
And it's on her back, back.
Yeah.
It said Juggalette.
Oh, Jesus.
Uh,
I don't. Never mind. I don't even have a comment for that. That's just. I mean, I can understand liking a group and doing, but I don't. To get a tattoo that says, of all things, Juggalette.
She's got to live with that for life.
Right. Like, I'm all for, it's her body and whatever, but...
You do you, boo-boo.
I guess, yeah, do you. Fucking Juggalette, Jesus Christ. And then now whoever she, if she ends up being married to somebody or whatever, and they're ever doing something, and they're like, oh, now I gotta look at Juggalette the whole time.
Just going ham on the backside, just like, Juggalette, what the fuck?
Instant mood killer. Just like, okay, I'm done.
I don't know if did you ever watch Workaholics?
Yes, love Workaholics.
Did you ever see the Juggalo festival episode?
I don't think I have.
Oh, bro, you need to go back and watch it.
Okay.
So they're walking through the whole Juggalo fest at one point, and
okay.
The guy, one of the dudes sees somebody drop something out of their pocket.
Yeah.
And he goes down to pick it up, and he's like, "Hey, guy, you dropped this," and he starts to pick it up, and he realizes it's a turd.
Oh, fuck. Oh, that sounds like something they would fucking do. Oh, Jesus fuck, man. Whew. I definitely have to go rewatch that series. I've taken the, granted I'm still working, but I've been taking the time, for about a month and a half. My wife was out of work, but thank God they finally called her back this past Friday. But we were taking time whenever, because she would work at night because I work in the morning. So we were definitely taking time to, sit down and introducing each other to our favorite movies. And it's... Shit, what was I just saying? What was I just saying about that?
You're higher than I am.
And I don't even smoke. What was it? Fuck, I forget where I was going with that. But there was, I don't know. Oh, about watching things. Okay, that's where I was. That's the main premise of it. We were really going over movies that we've seen that we wanted the other person to see, and she had never seen Mallrats or Workaholics or even Office Space. So I'm introducing her to these like fantastic movies that I love and like series. And I mean, like even there's movies that are like just instant classics that like she had never seen. Like the other day, I finally got her to sit down and we watched Django, which I know that's a relatively new movie, but that's a fucking amazing movie. I love Tarantino, and she was just like, oh my god, this is a good movie. I'm like, I fucking told you.
It's like, it's such a good movie, like, you don't even realize, like, how long that motherfucker is.
But that's what I love about Tarantino, just his movies are long as fuck, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, Hateful Eight, I think, is, like, probably one of my favorite ones right now, next to Pulp Fiction.
Hateful Eight, I wouldn't say it's definitely my top, but I definitely really enjoyed Hateful Eight. And there were people that were like, oh, it was so boring. And I was like, that's because you probably weren't fucking paying attention, dumbass.
Right? Yeah. Because Tarantino makes these movies like you have to listen to the dialogue.
Exactly. And you've got to pay attention because one little, a nod or like a move, you know what I mean, can really just pull your attention to something that if you're not paying attention, then it's at the end of the movie and you're like, well, where the fuck did this come from? Perfect example of that is the new one he just did, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where, it's like...
Haven't seen it yet.
Oh, never mind, I'm not going to say it then, I don't want to spoil it for you.
Okay, that's with, oh shit.
It's Brad Pitt and Leo. Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, it's amazing. Absolutely.
Is it on HBO?
Yes, it is.
Oh, shit,
I lied. I might be lying. It's on Stars. I know 100% it's on Stars.
Okay. I ain't got that. I got HBO, but I ain't got no Stars.
Well, I have it on, like, I own it on my Vudu account. If you can't find it, let me know, and I'll give you my account so you can watch it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back to, from trailing off of here. So when you worked at Lids and whatnot and Spencer's, I know we talked about Spencer's a little bit, but with Lids and Spencer's majorly being a mall type environment, was that easy or was it hard for you to adapt to?
I think the hardest thing, it was pretty easy to adapt, but really the hardest thing as far as Lids goes is that we were super, we didn't have a lot of people on staff.
Yeah.
So in a store, you had the store manager, you had an assistant manager, and you might have 2 key holders.
Gotcha.
That's pretty much it. Every now and then, depending on the volume of your store, you might have 1 or 2 associates. Mm-hmm. From my understanding now, because both of my roommates still work at Lids, they're single coverage all day, every day.
Wow.
So they have the store manager, then they'll have the assistant manager, and then they'll have maybe 2 key holders. It's usually just 1 key holder, but maybe 2. So they're a very skeleton crew. But if you've ever been in a Lids, I mean, Lids is fucking tiny anyways. Yeah. Now the locker rooms are a little bit bigger as well, but they're usually single coverage too. So I mean, you can kind of feel like, I mean, if I was single coverage in my store, man, there's no fucking way I could do it. No way.
Well, even in a tiny store like that, they still, there's still that sense of customer service where if a customer has a question or if they need to get a hat down, how are you going to help them when you're the only one in the store and you've got 6 people in line?
So there's something called breakaway statements.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of that term before?
No. Maybe I've heard it says something else, but I've never heard it that.
I guarantee you've at least used it before.
Okay.
So basically, a breakaway statement is a statement that leaves the floor open for you to reiterate with that customer. So maybe an example would be if you give them a couple options. Here, y'all look over this. I'll come back and check on you here in a minute.
Okay.
So you kind of leave the floor open just for them to look, and then you come back.
Essentially, you give them open-ended questions, and you come back.
Yes and no.
Okay.
You give them an option to mull everything over and kind of figure out what they're looking for. Well, not what they're looking for, but make a decision. Mm-hmm. And then while they're doing that, you go help somebody else.
Okay, I got you.
And you just kind of make your rounds around there.
Okay. It very much sounds very similar to a term we used in the firearms industry, like stacking customers. Like you get one, you get them started, you talk to them for a couple minutes. Hey, let me get with this person. I'll be back if you have any other questions. Then you move on, and then you come back, and then you can break away again or whatever.
Yeah, that's a breakaway statement. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense, 100%. That's a lot easier. I know, and I know you can definitely attest to this. It was hard as hell for me adjusting to mall. And maybe it was just because FYE is kind of dying and not as busy, or maybe just the location we were at wasn't as busy. But I came from a lot of big box and even like convenience store retail where it was busy, where you had more employees. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it was just, it was an interesting... it was an interesting concept to come into that because I had never dealt with running that little amount of people.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that particular store was very slow.
Oh, yeah.
But if you take the Irving store and you compare it to the Grapevine store, it's worlds different.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember I did training at the Grapevine store, and then it was also the other one. I can't remember it now, though. The one that Danny had.
Mesquite.
Mesquite, yeah. But even Mesquite to Grapevine was a huge difference.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I guess it's just more because, like, Grapevine is right next to the airport, so you get all that airport traffic, too. Mm-hmm. But, man, like, you couldn't say, like, oh, Monday's going to be slow, Tuesday's going to be slow. You couldn't say that. Like, there's no fucking way.
Right.
Everything was just way too unpredictable.
Mm-hmm. It was, and the other thing, too, about anybody listening, the Grapevine Mills Mall, anytime I went in there, I've always got the sense of it that it was more of like an outlet store, or at least it wanted to be an outlet store. And I feel that is also what helped contribute to the business. Because even if somebody doesn't shop at FYE, they're taking their kids through, and their kid might collect Funko Pops or movies, and they see something they want, and they just want to go in. And even that in itself, someone coming in and then not buying something can even still be hectic.
Yeah. I didn't even know what the fuck a Funko Pop was until I started for FYE.
It's funny, I collected them, but I had never physically opened one until I got to FYE. And while I was at the Grapevine store, I was like, I've never opened one. And Randall was like, okay, we'll open this one and put it on display. And I was like, oh.
You curse the gods.
Yeah, it was like... It's funny because, like, as I went and, as I progressed, I did it more because I started doing the same thing at my store where I made displays of them, and that actually really helped sell them, as well as, get inventory out of that fucking tiny-ass back room. God help me.
Yeah.
But it was just still interesting, like, and another, like, a world shaker for me was I had no idea how much of a comeback fucking vinyls were making, man.
Oh, yeah. I hopped on the vinyl bandwagon like maybe 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I started. Okay, so my mom actually started collecting them originally,
right?
And I kind of got into it because my mom was into it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm kind of starting to get my whole collection up.
Right.
Every time I go down to Austin, man, like I steal one from her every single fucking time.
There you go. Well, you said your mom, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say your parents own land where there's oil or some shit?
Yeah, my mom does. Yeah.
Dude, then why the fuck do you work?
Because I like to work. No, bro, like, there's absolutely no way I can sit at home. Like, there's no fucking way. I'm somebody that's got to be out doing something.
No, I gotcha.
Like, there's just no way.
No, I totally understand you. And, I'm just fucking with you. And you've always had a really good work ethic. Even at FYE, there was, even though, they had those things where you had to get people to sign up for the credit card or the magazines. And, even though, not all of us could always do it, if there was any other task, you were still always like, you at least got it done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you definitely
Man, I'll tell you, the last week that I was at FYE, I was at Randall's store.
Yeah.
And
well, your last week was the week it was the week after I left, wasn't it?
Sure, sounds good. Wow.
Okay.
So my last week there, I went fucking ham on that shit.
Yeah.
Like, I was trying to convince everybody. Like, I think our standard was like 14% or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I ran a 27% that last week.
Whew.
Just my personal.
Yeah, and I remember you were telling me, like, once you said you were leaving, it's really funny that the DM was trying to offer you the Irving store after I left, which is really fucking hilarious that you told me that, because several times they had conversations with me and said that they didn't think you could do it and that they wouldn't give you a store. So the
It's because I
fact,
couldn't leave.
right, exactly, 100%, bastards. I hate that shit, man.
Yeah, like I don't know what the fuck their problem was, but even like while they were looking for you, I took what's her name, Oksana, to the side and I was like,
Mm,
"Hey, I'm a former store manager. I
right.
know what I'm fucking doing. Use me." And then like a week later, she hired you.
Well, yeah,
And
and that
like,
was
no offense or anything, but
right.
I
No, no,
mean,
no. No, I totally get it. And it was like even like during the interview and afterwards, well not even that. That's not what I'm talking about. But I remember when Randall's ASM quit and they had me hiring people and I you and I like you told me that you would want to stay where I was because it was closer to your house.
yeah,
100%. No qualms about that. I liked working with you. I knew I could depend on you to get shit done. So then I'm hiring people and she wants me to give you to that store and I have to get the brand new person, not only being a brand new store manager, but then having to train a new assistant and all this other shit.
yeah. I thought
Like
that was fucking retarded.
100%. And then I even told her, I'm like, Oksana, wouldn't you want to send the new ASM over to Randall's store, a busier store, so they could be trained? Like, not saying that I couldn't train properly, but I mean, how many, even at the low budget Irving store, how many miss ASMs did I go through because they just didn't want to do, they couldn't do the job?
How many did you go through?
I went through 3.
Damn.
Yeah,
You went through 3 while I was at your store. Randall went through 2.
yeah.
That's fucking nuts.
It absolutely, and I even told him like, look, Tim wants to stay here. Let me send these, and then it's like, no, we're gonna send Tim to where it's busier because it'll be more beneficial for the company. Oh, so fuck me, but we're gonna let Randall be okay. And then
Yeah,
you want me to hire people, but yet I can't pay them. Like I can't pay them good money.
yeah.
Total
That's
bullshit.
that's that's all mall retail though. 100% all mall retail. Like while I was working for Lids, I was making probably one of the highest salaries out of the entire district of Dallas
Hmm.
before I left,
Okay.
and that was not that much. That's almost the exact amount is what I'm making now,
Wow.
and I'm only an assistant manager right now.
Right. Now I know you brought that up again. Now, did your store find a manager yet, or do they still have you running it?
So kind of. What my breakdown is. It's a whole weird situation. So my shop owner
Okay.
has a friend, and she brought her in,
Okay.
and now she's the visual merchandise manager. There's
Okay.
not officially a store manager, but I'm still the assistant manager, so it's still my baby.
Right. So it's not like a big corporation. It's like a private smoke shop.
Right, right.
Okay. No, I guess that makes sense because corporate as good as some corporations can be. You and I have both seen the end where they're not, and where they're all
Yeah.
just about the bottom line dollar and work their people to death.
Definitely.
Oh man,
Sorry about that.
you should take some cough drops, man. That's a pretty bad cough you got there. Well, since we're on the topic of that and we've been reminiscing about previous jobs and whatnot, that really leads me into my next question for you. So in your entire 13 year experience in retail, if you had to think back, what would you say is your best memory of working in retail? Whether it was you got some kudos or like some accolades, or even something as small as someone like going out of their way to thank you. Like, what is something that you think of whenever you're having a bad day? You know what I mean?
I mean, really, it probably comes down to becoming an official manager. Like that was just like, oh man, I finally worked up to like being a manager. Like I'm the shit right now. And then with that experience, that's led me into more money, better
Right.
jobs. I mean, that's probably where I'd go with that.
No, 100%. I can 100% agree with what you're saying there because, or not agree. I can, what's the word I'm looking for? Relate. I can relate with that. Oh, you getting a refill?
Yeah, sorry.
No. You're fine. Drink away, dude. I had some Jack and Coke, and I ran out.
The liquor.
The bottle.
Or the freezer. The freezer. Why would you keep liquor in a fridge? Sorry.
No, you're good, dude. Totally. All mine alcohol is in the freezer, in my deep freezer.
Is there a Dr. Pepper up there too?
I just showed you Dr. Pepper.
No, there's a can. My roommate's fucking dumb.
No, you're fine.
Is there not a can up there? You're crazy, man.
What is that? What are you drinking?
Have you ever heard of Four Roses?
No.
It's a.
Let me see.
This particular one's a small batch bourbon.
Okay.
Ooh. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite ones.
And bourbon.
It's super smooth.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of a bite to it, but man, it hits you.
Speaking of the small batch, I know if I told you before, one of my favorite, and I've kind of, I know we've talked about it before, but one of my favorite alcohols is I love Captain Morgan.
Yeah,
have you
we talked about it.
Have you ever tried their reserve stock?
I have. It's so fucking good.
Oh, if it wasn't like $50 a bottle, that's probably what I would be drinking tonight.
Where did Dr. Pepper go? Oh my god.
Someone drink your Dr. Pepper?
I lost my mixer.
Uh-oh.
Okay, well, I'm just going to keep the bottle by me. So.
You're fine. That's totally fine. Let me know whenever you're ready.
Do you like it? Like
No, at this point I don't. I mean, if it's bad, like if it's terrible enough, I will, but nothing crazy.
Did you see my Bob Ross can there?
I did. That's another person. Like obviously, like I haven't done research on it, but I don't think there's anything to confirm it. But he had to have been high while doing that show.
Oh, bro, 100%.
Like he was just so fucking space cadet that he would like something. 100%.
He was so giddy all the time. Like, there's no way anybody's that happy all the fucking time.
Well, since you've told me about your best memory, let's kind of flip it on its head there. What was one of your worst memories?
Probably having to quit Spencer's. So,
Okay.
I don't remember the exact situation that ended up happening.
Uh-huh.
But my memory pretty much tells me that, oh shit, what was it? It was either like a store visit or it was an inventory or something like that.
Okay.
But they had given me some task to, something having to do with the hats. So, like, when you walk into Spencer's, there's a shitload of hats. Those stupid fucking random hats that they sell.
Right.
Party with bitches, woo!
Right.
Um,
With your dumbass, like, fucking frat bro hats.
Yeah, neon, fucking black background, all that shit.
Right.
So, like, I think it was an inventory. There was, they had told me to go through the hats and make sure everything was tagged, and I delegated that to somebody else. Because I was already doing a fuckload of things getting ready for this, because I was this closing manager getting ready for the inventory in the morning.
Right.
So I was dealing with a fuckload of stuff like that. But what ended up happening was the person I delegated it to fucked up. There was some, like, I don't know, 15 hats that didn't have a price tag or something on them. And then because of that, they decided to let me go.
Because somebody fucked up.
Yep. I don't know why it fell on me. Like, I guess I did. But that one little mishap, there's no way I should have been, like, told to leave.
Right.
Because it was basically, like, they came to me and said, we can either fire you over this, or you can quit. And I said, fuck that, I quit, I'm the fuck out.
Most definitely. So, wow, I definitely channeled Bill and Ted right there. Excellent!
Definitely, bro.
By the way, in case you haven't noticed, these are now my underwork shirts. They are fantastic for going under my polo.
Interesting.
Yeah, really good. So if you ever have to wear a polo, FYE shirts are perfect undershirts.
Not gonna lie, I burned them.
So it really sounds like somebody messed up, and I get that. But instead of the store manager taking any kind of responsibility or anything, or, whatever, they were like, oh, here's somebody I can blame it on, so they lose their job, and I can keep making my, whatever they were making as a store manager.
Yeah. So I think in reality, what it really came down to was there was a store manager before the store manager that I had, and he was a great guy. His name is John. Mm-hmm. Great guy. Loved the dude. Hung out with him regularly. But they didn't like him, so they found a small little tidbit to get rid of him. And I was one of the last people of his crew, so I think they were just trying to get me the fuck out of there.
I gotcha. So they were still trying to clean house.
Right.
That's so fucked up, man.
But, in my opinion, I never really did anything that would deserve that. So...
Right, and it'd be interesting that if you would have allowed them to fire you, not that you would have wanted to, but, what would have happened to that if you would have maybe tried to get unemployment? Because I would have wanted to see some documentation on why you were fired. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I didn't get wrote up on it or anything.
Right.
They just said, hey, you can either quit or you can get fired. I said, now that I'm older,
right,
and I know these things, I should have said, you fucking fire me. Let me see how the fucking goes.
Exactly, because I know, at least now with 7-Eleven, man, we are so, to the T and by the book with HR shit. You can't, unless it's, a major, theft issue or, a huge fuck-up, you've got to have, documentation leading up to someone being terminated. So for someone to just be like...
You have three write-ups before you can actually fire someone in the state of Texas per TWC.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's... Ugh. See, and again, if you were, hindsight 2020, whatever. But again, if you were in the mindset that you were now, I probably would have been like, fire me. Let me collect some unemployment.
Yeah. I even funny story. This goes to the shop that I'm working at now.
Yeah.
When we got shut down in Dallas, because basically everything in Dallas got shut down that wasn't considered essential.
Right.
But we still had our Plano store, and our Plano store is in a different county, so that didn't necessarily matter.
Right.
Well, the Plano store is a fucking hour away from my house.
Jesus.
Yep. So I had to work out there a few times, and there was a couple times where I was late, and I got wrote up for that. I told the store manager of that store, fuck you, dude. I'm not getting wrote up for this, because in our policy it says that I can be 5 minutes late if I need to be, or if I have to be.
Right.
So I said, fuck that. I'm not getting wrote up. Never heard anything else about it.
Right. Well, I don't know. How do I say it? I understand what you're saying because I do that every day. The store. So I live here in Irving. I mean, you haven't been in my townhome, but you know where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah.
I work in Crossroads up by Louisville.
Mm-hmm. I know exactly.
Not Louisville, Louisville, Denton area.
Yeah.
So it takes me 45 minutes to an hour to get to work every fucking day. So I get it. I 100% get it. And the great part about it is my district manager, he is a fucking awesome person. I told him point blank, there are days where I stay later, but if my store's covered and it's clean, recovered, and it's stocked, I leave at fucking 2 o'clock.
I'm the fuck out, bro.
Seriously, and he's told me several times that he's come in days where I've left at 2 because I'll go in at 5 or 6 or whatever, but I tell him well, first off, it takes me an hour to get here and an hour to get home. Second, I bust my ass while I'm in the store because we're not such a busy store, but I bust my ass to make sure it's clean, it's stocked, fronted and face, and everything like that. So that way when my second shift comes in, they're set before I leave. And then if they need me, I'll stay later, help them get through a rush, fill up the vault a little bit, do whatever I need to. But if they're set, I take my happy ass home and drive an hour. And he has no complaints. I have never yet heard him say anything to me complaining that I go home at the time I do. And, it's because I fucking do my job.
Do you have a set amount of hours that you have to work?
Yes and no. But unlike FYE, with me being salaried, so I was salaried at FYE, but here at 7-Eleven, store managers do not clock in and out.
Oh, fuck. So you just get your pay regardless. Okay.
100%.
I see
Now,
you, big dog.
now, if I have to... Now, don't get me wrong. There are days where I work 12, 15-hour days, and it fucking sucks. Or work, like when my assistant manager, she had some dental surgery done, and they fucked up. And she was out for 2 weeks. So for like 2.5 weeks, I was working every single day. Like, 10, 12-hour days. So that blew some donkey dicks. But I definitely try to, take the good and the bad, because I want to, if there are days where I can duck out early, like I do, like I tell my boss, like straight up, like this past week, I was off. I usually work Monday through Friday, and as long as everything's scheduled and there's no call-offs, I'm off Saturday, Sunday, because we're not a weekend store. We're on a highway, and we get a lot of the construction workers, day laborers, people, going to the hospital or whatever. So on the weekend, I have one person in the morning, one person in second shift, and one person for third shift, and that's it.
Solo dolo.
Yo, that's how not busy we are on the weekends. So the fact that I can do that, I'm able to be off on the weekends. But tomorrow, I'm going to go in because Thursday, my son had an appointment, and I stayed home with my oldest so that my youngest could go to his appointment. And I told my boss, I'm like, hey, just FYI, in case you show up Thursday, I'm going to take off and then work Saturday. And when I told him that, he's like, okay, well, you don't got to work the whole day, right? And I was like, I know. And that's what I told my ASM today, and she kind of made a snide remark about it, and I kind of quipped back at her. It was like, I told her, I was like, yeah, I'll come in at like 8:30, depending on when I wake up tomorrow. And she was like, yeah, whenever you work on the weekends, you usually don't come in right at 6, and you're only here for a couple hours. And I'm like, well, I'm the boss. Like, I don't mean to be an ass about it, but like...
I mean, yeah. Like, make sure everything is good to go, and then fuck it.
100%. Like, if I go in, like tomorrow, if for some reason I wake up at, I'm going to try to sleep in, but I get up every day at 4 something. So I guarantee you tomorrow, 5 o'clock, I'm going to be up. Yeah, eat
Bro,
it, okay?
I don't know how I did it, but this morning I was an hour and a half late to open my store.
Woo!
Yeah, my boss was not pleased.
Ooh, you better be careful, man.
But,
don't lose that good job.
But I made a $700 sale and an $800 sale back to back, so she was like, "Okay, I see you."
So again, like you said earlier, she was like, "Do you, boo boo?"
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it's really good to have that feeling, because you were saying earlier, finally being able to be the boss, like the manager, is one of your best feelings and memories. And for a long time, that's what I wanted. Like when I was at my first retail job, Turkey Hill, I worked there for 6 years trying to become a store manager, even an assistant, and they just wouldn't give it to me because I was working all the hours and doing the work, and they just wanted to keep paying me to be a lowly associate. So to finally have that position, and I know that sounds stupid, and that's probably not...
No, I totally get that. Totally get that.
And I've talked to people, they're like, oh, well, it's just a store manager of a convenience store. Okay, but that's my fucking store. That's my blood, sweat, and tears that's making that store what it is.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, I'm glad that you agree with me, because, well, you're a career retail guy like me, so yeah. The term I use is career retail manager. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, and I'm totally okay that you did, but I kind of want to get a little bit more clarification on it. So when the lockdown went into effect, how long was your store shut down for?
So originally, I was considered an essential business because we sell CBD, we sell Kratom, we also have like hand sanitizer and a bunch of other shit.
Okay.
Fucking head shop selling hand sanitizer, I know.
Right. Hey, you gotta have clean hands while you're rolling your dope, man.
So originally we were considered essential. So that shutdown happened on like a Wednesday or a Friday or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Well, on that Friday we had a what the fuck are they called? An ordinance worker come out.
Okay.
And say, hey, y'all are not essential. I need y'all to shut down. Well, we handed him a letter from our lawyer, and he took it to his boss, and his boss was like, okay, they can stay open. Mm-hmm. 3 days later, so it was 4 days. So the next Tuesday, a lady comes in and says, "Hey, y'all are not essential. I need y'all to shut down." It was just me and one of my associates. So I handed her the same letter and I was like, "Hey, is this like a follow up from last time?" The girl said, "We're good." Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
What it is. I was like, okay. So I handed her the letter. She went to go talk to her boss. She comes back and is like, all right, so there was a new vote, and apparently all the smoke shops in that are non-essential. So my shop got shut down that day, and then we were shut down for about a week and a half. Now, on the low, we started opening up from 6 to 11, Monday through Friday, and then that Friday was when Abbott came out and said retail stores can open for curbside.
Right.
But again, because we were a smoke shop, curbside is damn near impossible.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's just way too many fucking options. Not only are we a smoke shop, but we're also a boutique. We have a lot of clothing in there. We have a lot of smoking accessories and stuff like that. Yeah, dude, if you've never been to Retro, like, run into Dallas, man, check it out. It's really dope.
How far away is the store you work at?
From here, like 30 minutes. Not bad.
I'll have to stop in. Do you also have like cigars and stuff like that there too? Obviously, probably.
Not like cigars. We have like cigarillos, and it's smoking stuff. Not like.
So it's not a smoke. Well, it's a smoke shop, but essentially, you guys are just preparing for lead to be legalized, so you guys can just start selling.
Yep.
I gotcha. No, that makes sense.
We've actually talked. I've talked about that with my boss too, and she was like, "I'm trying. Like the second that we get legal, like we're gonna open up a separate shop and make that a dispensary."
Right. Because if I'm not mistaken, don't get me wrong. Like I've told you before, and anybody listening, I am 100% not against marijuana or anything. I know a ton of people, who've smoked it a lot, and it does have its benefits. Like I know it helps a lot of people with their anxiety, or like with depression, things of that nature. And I know there's a lot of things with like THC, and I could be wrong for saying this, so if I am, I do apologize. But it's something, maybe if it's THC or something similar to THC that's in the marijuana that can help with like cancer treatments and like epilepsy and like seizures and stuff.
CBD.
CBD, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
So no, 100%, and I feel like, I mean, the states that have legalized it, like, they're, like, imagine the tax money you can make off that shit.
Oh, bro, Oklahoma just legalized last year, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
2019, they legalized, and their tax rate is like 16 fucking %.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So what does that make your dime bag?
16% of 10.
So you're
that's
paying
like what, extra $2 on that,
right?
Almost, yeah.
So after taxes, everything would almost come out to like a dime and a half.
Yeah. So let's say like a dime bag's $10.
Right.
Dime bag would technically be like a half gram.
Gotcha.
So if you pay $10 on a half gram, you really wouldn't be paying $10 on a half gram. It'd be $10 on like a full gram, maybe.
Right.
So you'd be, 16%? 10 is 1, so 1 is 5, so 6, so it'd be 160. So you'd be paying $1.60 per every $10.
Government's got to get its money, and I'm sure these states that are hurting for money and that their infrastructure is crumbling fucking legalize weed and then just use the tax money to fix shit.
Well, see, that's also why I don't think Texas is going to be doing it anytime soon. So everybody around Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Louisiana to an extent is all legal. So it's medically legal, but it's still legal. So you'll still have that 16%, but Texas has a bunch of private prisons. We have a bunch of oil. In reality, Texas could secede at any point in time and be perfectly fine for at least 10 years.
See, and I've heard that before, and I never believed it until I moved down here. And, like, when I tell people that who still live, like my friends and family who still live up in Pennsylvania, their jaws drop when I tell them that. I'm like, you just don't understand how different the economy here is in Texas.
Yeah.
Like, where I lived in Pennsylvania, it was either you worked at a convenience store, a grocery store, or a warehouse. That was it. That was literally all the jobs. Or I'm sorry, and then there was also like Comcast. That was a big job that was growing. But it was like there was just a lot of like, and maybe I'm over exaggerating, but I just felt like there wasn't a good job market where I'm from in Pennsylvania. And to come down here, I mean, it's fucking mind boggling. And then to come down here and just to see some of the differences, like in Pennsylvania, it's so like tightly controlled by certain companies. Like if for like your cable and your internet, you have two options. You have DirecTV or you have Comcast. Down here in fucking Texas, I had like a dozen of them to pick from.
Comcast is a fucking joke. Not even gonna lie. I had Comcast for like 5 minutes and was like, fuck this.
5 minutes. But dude, that's awesome. I'm really happy to have you on, man, and to get your your intake on things, and to have another person on with the experience that you have. So seeing as though your shop is back open then, and really, I mean, I'm sure you guys clean the shop anyway. I mean, why wouldn't you these sort of like, oh, well, make sure you're cleaning and wiping down stuff. I work in a food service convenience store where we do that anyway.
So even if you do it anyway, like what they want you to do is be doing it like every 30 minutes to an hour.
And we do that now heavily, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have a whole list where every hour we go do the coffee bar, the soda fountain, the coffee machine, behind the counter, the pin pads, the safe, or the
till
ATM, yeah, the tills, any points the customers can touch, the pumps, shit of that nature. So I get it. But it's also like at a smoke shop where it seems like everything on your end is just like everything has to be touched. You know what I mean?
Sorry, that bulb kept burning.
That's okay.
Sorry. Yeah. So, I mean, right now, generally I would let people water test,
right,
which basically means I just put water in your rig or whatever if you're doing like a water pipe or something like that.
Okay.
I'll put water in your rig to the exact level that you should have it at, and I'll let you like kind of hit it, just so you can get a feel of how your hit's going to be. Because of everything that's going on, which is how we put Texas, we have suspended that, so there's not going to be any water testing. I will have to wipe down my cases like every 30 minutes. I have to wipe down my door like every 20 minutes. Like we're staying on top of it.
Right.
So, I mean, if the Rona gets into my store, like, fuck.
The Rona.
Fuck, right?
So, if you don't mind, elaborate a little bit more on that. And as somebody who is completely ignorant when it comes to the subject of, using a bong or anything like that, any experience? Like, I've never smoked it, but I've been around people, and I've seen a couple people use bongs or whatever, or like a makeshift bong that they made. But most of what I've seen is people rolling joints. So when you're saying you do a water test, so you just put water in the bong and then you like simulate that it would light?
Yeah, alright, so I'm going to show you this. So this would be, we'll say this is just one of the pieces out of my store, which technically it is, but I bought this like 10 years ago.
Jesus, that's huge.
It's not that big. That's what she said.
So
basically what I would do would be fill up my chambers here. This fucking guy. I would fill up my chambers here to like the levels that I would recommend going with.
Okay.
And then I would just have them hit it. So we'd have like without the light.
Okay.
So you get a good feel for how your bong's gonna be hidden.
Okay.
You don't get the smoke and everything, but you still get a good feel for it. So, like, some pieces will have a slower drag on it, which means you're going to have more smoke in the chamber for a longer period of time.
Okay.
Other pieces, not so much.
Okay.
And that's really what it comes down to, like, when people are looking for a piece, like, oh, is it going to have a slower drag? Is it going to have a clean hit? Like, it's just, yeah.
And what's the name of your smoke shop again, so we can give a good plug for it?
Retro Revolution.
Retro Revolution. So anybody listening, I'm not sure if is that just mainly a Texas-based business or?
Yeah, we've only got a store in Dallas off of Greenville, and then
Okay.
we have a store in Plano,
Plano.
off of 75.
Okay, so anybody listening who lives in Texas or plans on visiting or anything like that, make sure you stop by and visit Tim or the other store in Plano.
Dopest shops around, I will say that. Not from a biased opinion, like it's one
Right.
of the dopest shops.
It's funny when you say that. You really remind me of fucking James Franco from fucking Pineapple Express when he's like, hands down, dopest dope I've ever smoked. Like just your facial expression, like you got so into it.
Dopest shit ever.
Yes, and it's so funny that like, and it's hard for me because like I have no, and it's not that I'm against it. It's, I have no interest in smoking weed, but it's funny that you know you always hear these stories about people that never have and then they do it and then they just get fucking like a space cadet from it. I think Key and Peele did a bit on it that I actually just recently re-saw, where you know he was taking a hit off his bong and his friend's like, "Hey, let me try it," and he's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, I smoked a bunch of weed in the '90s," and he's like, "Okay, but weed has gotten so much stronger since then." He's like, "What do you mean weed's got stronger?" He said, "I can take it. Let me get a hit." And he's like, Jordan, we've had this conversation 15 times already. You've already taken it.
You've already hit it, man. You've already hit it.
And of course you can't be mad. Like, of course you have the quintessential stoner movies, like you said. Like I brought up like Pineapple Express. Like that was a movie, 100%. Like anything with Seth Rogen in it. It's just.
It's good.
Yeah, and not even the fact that again is he's funny just because he smokes weed, but it's just like he's such an advocate for it that I think is hilarious. Yeah. So anyway, I think we've had a lot of good conversations on here. I appreciate you being my second guest. You know, like I tell everybody, I won't censor anybody. I let them come in and say what they want. Clearly, my guest today has been taking bong hits the whole time. So everybody out there knows, like, I'm not gonna turn somebody down from being on the show. So I always try to end the show on a positive note. And Tim, since you are a career retail manager like myself, and you are kind of out, like you're finally back fully in the field dealing with the coronavirus and the setback and everything from there. If there was anything that you could really say to the people out there that are listening, what's that? Is something happening in the background?
I don't think so.
Oh, I don't know. I'm picking up something. It might be on my end anyway. But anyway, so if you could say anything to the people out there listening who are really like putting their lives on the line, who are out there like stocking shelves, making sure that we have stuff to get, like things that we're able to get, the things that we need to survive. And these people, like their jobs are like scaring them because then they can catch something. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you could say anything to the people out there to kind of give them motivation to keep going, what would you say?
Protect you. We'll get through everything. Just protect you.
Okay. So, not to sound like dumb or anything. Oh, shit. Okay, there we go.
You're new. It's cool. I get it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, so essentially, look out for yourself. Like, still do your job, but just make sure you're looking out for yourself.
Yeah, because I mean, like the coronavirus is, I mean, it's a big thing right now, but some of these numbers are kind of inflated.
Yes.
That's just kind of a personal opinion. That's just over stuff that I've read, multiple things that I've read. Everything's kind of blown out of proportion right now, so just kind of do you. That's all I gotta say.
Mm-hmm. So pretty much, again, just adding on to what you said, just be smart and you should be fine.
Be smart and you'll be good.
All right. Well, Tim, that was fantastic. I'm so happy I got you on the show, buddy. Thank you again for being on. Everybody out there listening, like I said, I'm pretty sure this is episode 22. Give me 1 second. I can actually verify that for you. Yep, 22. So again, this has been episode 22. To everybody out there listening, please make sure you guys like and subscribe. Get the message out there that there are people here that want to listen and that want to, give you a platform to really speak your mind and to let you be you for a little bit. Tim and I have been talking for about an hour here, so I really could care less if you want to come on for an hour and all you want to do is bitch, or you just want to come on for 15 minutes and tell a story. get a hold of me. If you know the people I'm interviewing, get a hold of them. They'll get a hold of me. I welcome anybody on the show. Tim, is there anything you want to say before we go? Any last plugs or anything you want to do?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, everybody, that has been, again, episode 22. We're this close, guys, to our 50 subscriber mark. So please make sure we still have that contest running. So please make sure you're liking and subscribing and letting your friends know about the show. Have a great night, everybody.